Welcome to the Autism Empowerment Podcast, your source for acceptance, enrichment, inspiration, and empowerment in autistic and autism communities worldwide. Wherever you identify in your autism or autistic journey, Autism Empowerment is here to meet you along the way. We are an autistic-led podcast, 501c3 nonprofit charity, and publisher of Spectrum Life magazine. In today's episode, we're answering listener questions about how you can become ambassadors for acceptance of all abilities. Autism Acceptance Month may be in April, but we promote autism acceptance every day. This show will share easy ways you can get involved with and support Autism Empowerment, the nonprofit organization which produces this podcast.
And we're up and going. Hey there, Karen.
Hello, John. Happy spring.
Happy spring.
It's almost time for us to start conducting our annual bunny census.
That is correct. That is where we go around the neighborhood during our evening walk and count how many bunnies there are.
And you know, there's quite a few in our neighborhood. We are blessed here in Southwest Washington to live in an area where we can find lots of bunnies on our walks.
Yeah, I think actually on one walk, which was about 45 minutes, we counted 21 bunnies one time. That's a lot of bunnies.
That's a lot of buns. If you live in an area where you see a lot of wildlife or bunnies, why don't you send us a picture? We'd love to see it.
And we'll post it on our Facebook page.
We will post it on our Facebook page. So send those pictures in. We'd love to see them. Thank you for joining us here today for the Autism Empowerment Podcast. It's great to be back. Every quarter, we need to take off a week or so while we're finalizing our current issue of Spectrum Life magazine. This next issue that's coming up for spring 2021 is packed with advocacy, acceptance, and lots of great stories. So we'll be chatting about that in an upcoming episode. But for now, though, let me go ahead and get this show underway. My name is Karen Krecha, and I'm the Executive Director and co-founder of Autism Empowerment and one of your regular hosts. I'm here with my husband, John Krecha, who is our Programs Director and other co-founder. One of the positive movements we're known for starting and promoting here locally in Southwest Washington, as well as regionally in the Portland, Oregon metro area, is our pledge to be ambassadors for acceptance of all abilities. And with that, working on building an inclusive culture of acceptance, enrichment, inspiration, and empowerment wherever we may be. As many of our listeners are listening in from outside of our region, we're going to talk today about how people living in other areas can join in too. I'm going to turn this over to John, who'll be asking questions, sharing in the discussion, and helping monitor our time together.
I would be happy to monitor our time again today. I really enjoy that. I love having conversations with you. So why are we doing this today?
Since launching the Autism Empowerment Podcast with episode number 1 in January 2021, we've received quite a few emails from listeners that want to learn more about Autism Empowerment, the organization, and how they can get involved and support the work our nonprofit does. It's really exciting because we are all about spreading the message of building a culture of autism acceptance worldwide. We're hearing from self-advocates, parents, professionals, friends and family members, people from intersecting identities from all walks of life. As we were seeing a lot of the same types of questions come in, it made logical sense to create a podcast episode that would provide those types of answers. Also, since we are nearing the end of March and it's coming up on Autism Acceptance Month in April, the timing for this episode makes sense. April can be a very difficult month for autistic people and their families. That's because it's Autism Acceptance Month, although some organizations still call it Autism Awareness Month. The reason it can be so triggering is that there is so much information about autism, good, bad, indifferent, accurate, inaccurate, you name it, coming from all over the place. While ideally it's a great time to be able to uplift people and share some of the challenges that we're going through and ways that people can legitimately help, oftentimes there's either a toxic positivity or a toxic negativity, and it's confusing to a lot of people. At Autism Empowerment, we're here to meet people along the way where they're at. And in our organization, it's always been more about promoting that culture of acceptance. It's something where we don't need a day or a month to do that. That's something that we work for every day because we want people on the autism spectrum to be accepted every day.
Absolutely.
So we'll be going over ideas that people can plug into wherever they live. And we'll share in this particular show, we're going to be sharing virtual volunteer opportunities, and we're going to talk about ways that everyone can be an ambassador for acceptance of all abilities. We're also going to start a monthly giveaway to win fun merchandise and prizes.
So you mentioned something about being an ambassador for acceptance of all abilities. Before we get into the ways people can help, I'd like to actually talk about this a little bit, because I know all of our volunteers are called ambassadors for acceptance of all abilities. What does that mean?
What we believe is that every person, regardless of abilities, disabilities, differences, or challenges, deserves to be treated with kindness, respect, and dignity. Essentially, it's following the golden rule, love your neighbor.
Absolutely.
Being an ambassador for acceptance of all abilities means taking a pledge in your life to treat others and yourself with the same kind of acceptance and kindness that we would want to receive ideally from others. We believe that being an ambassador for acceptance of all abilities includes everyone, those with disabilities and those without. It's truly an inclusive community message that we wish to share. By using the word ambassador, it has a nice ring to it. People like the strength of being an ambassador for something.
It's also very diplomatic as well. So you want to be able to uplift people and meet people where they're at.
That's a great point, John, because being an ambassador doesn't mean just putting content out there. It means listening to where people are, meeting them where they're at, and being open to different types of ideas.
So, Karen, all of our volunteers wear the Ambassador for Acceptance of All Abilities shirts, and they come in obviously beautiful colors, are green, red, orange, and purple. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So Autism Empowerment has been around almost 10 years. And in our early years, we had a lot of volunteer events that were out in the community. In fact, sometimes we had events where we would have a couple hundred volunteers all in one place at one time. And so we figured out pretty early on that it was important to make sure that volunteers could recognize each other and that people attending our events could recognize our volunteers. But we wanted to do this in a way that promoted positive messaging. It branded us as an organization, but it was also something that people would want to wear outside of a volunteer activity. So we came up with the idea of Ambassador for Acceptance of All Abilities shirts. They're in our 4 foundational colors, which are green for accept, red for enrich, orange for inspire, and purple for empower. And we'd let our volunteers choose which color they wanted to wear. And it was neat because we would see a wide sea of all of these different shirts out there at our different events. In fact, a lot of times when you see nonprofit shirts, they're either white or they're black.
Absolutely.
But you see these bold green, red, orange, and purple shirts. It's just a bright message.
What I love about it, we've heard a lot of the teens come up and say that they actually wear the shirts to school and they get a lot of positive feedback. And it's a great message just in general.
Yes. If you can get your
Absolutely.
If you can get teens to like your shirt and wear it to school without prompting them, that's just an awesome thing in and of itself. The shirt itself, on the front of the shirt, it has Ambassador for on top, and it has a globe heart in the middle to represent love around the world. The bottom part underneath the heart says acceptance of all abilities. These have, in the past, had the messaging on the front. In the back has either been plain, or in some cases, when we have a particular club, like our Autism Serves Kids Care Club, we'll put our Autism Serves logo on the back, Autism Empowerment logo on the back as well.
Absolutely. I think it helps determine the different groups that we have.
It does. And they're very good conversation starters when we're volunteering out in the community with other nonprofits. They get to see the shirt and wonder who we are and what we're about. And it gives a chance for us to do a little bit of outreach for autism empowerment. And it builds a good conversation out in the community.
Absolutely. I totally would agree with that, because we actually had one time we were at the Clark County Food Bank with all of our kids with their shirts on. And you could easily identify all of the kids and the parents. And we had several people come up to us and ask us who we were and what we were all about. And we actually had a couple families that actually had a connection to autism that actually got connected with us as well.
Which is what we want. We want people to be aware and to know about us and to know about the services and programs
and feel connected.
we offer. Absolutely. When people feel that connection, they're not alone. It reduces that feeling of isolation that a lot of people in our community have before they connect with someone. We're happy to do that in any way that we can that sends that positive messaging. In fact, it's pretty common when we're out at our annual summer picnic for people who happen to be in the park at the same time to actually ask if they can get one of those T-shirts.
We get that all of the time.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. So what we decided to do is we don't want to keep this messaging all to ourselves. We thought it would be great to spread it far and wide. And so by the end of April, what we're going to do at our organization is have a merchandise store online that's linked to our podcast where listeners can order shirts, and we're going to have some decals and mugs and other items with that kind of branding. And along the way, we'll probably create some other types of acceptance branding as well, other empowering messages, because it's our 10-year anniversary that's coming up in June, and we really want to be able to celebrate in a way that's going to benefit our whole community. But before then, to support the ambassador movement, we're going to start off April by giving away some of the T-shirts that we already have.
No way, a giveaway?
We'll tell you how to get your free entry to win one of these T-shirts later in the show.
That's great. Now I'd like to talk about some ways to support autism empowerment.
Okay, let's go ahead and do this. First, I want to give a big shout out to our listeners out there, to the people who wrote to us and asked, how can we support you? How can we get involved? What can we do? One of the biggest things that people can do, and it's one of the hardest things to ask for, is if they're financially capable to be able to give donations. As a nonprofit organization, a 501c3 nonprofit, the programs that we run can't operate without listener support. It's always been hard for me to ask other people for money, but I realized early on in my nonprofit journey, learning about how nonprofits work, that it's not about asking for us. It's about asking for the mission and vision of the organization and what we want to see. Do you want to see a world where people on the autism spectrum are respected and included and supported? Do you want to see a society that embraces and helps meet every human need of every autistic person? Do you want to be part of something that is making the world a better place? So in our organization, we're a small grassroots group. There's a lot of autism organizations that raise millions of dollars each year and have big staffs and lots of fundraising people that can go out and do these things. In our organization, it's really grassroots, and there's a couple people that mostly volunteer, and we have a lot of volunteers that mostly volunteer, but we don't have this big infrastructure that can get those dollars coming in. So when we have an opportunity, we need to find a way to ask. And that's what we're doing now. So we're going to start with our Ways to Give handout that we sometimes share with people, and we'll talk about the opportunities listed there.
So how could someone make a financial gift?
There are a number of different ways that people can make financial gifts. They can do so with a credit card, and they can do so through our autismempowerment.org website. They also have the option of mailing a check or a money order, and that can be mailed to Autism Empowerment at P.O. Box 871-676, Vancouver, Washington, 98687.
And we'll have those in the show notes, right?
Right. Everything that we're going to be talking about here for the rest of the show will include links to in our show notes at the Autism Empowerment Podcast.org website. And I do want to let you know that we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so donations in the United States are tax deductible. To help increase the impact of your donation, if you're working, you may want to check with your employer, as it's been very popular over the years, especially in the last couple years, for businesses to match donations from their employees. Those types of programs are at no cost to you, but it can sometimes almost double or triple the impact that you can make. Also, some employers have special grant programs or giving programs or contests where you can nominate a charity for a grant, and we would love to be considered. If we need to send in a grant application, we'd be happy to do so. We're regularly looking for ways to diversify our revenue stream so that we are here for the long haul. We want to be supporting you for many decades to come.
And we totally appreciate every single donation and every single contribution that a person makes because it really does have an impact on an organization like ours. One of the questions was, can people donate through Facebook?
Yes. So if you are on Facebook and you see our Autism Empowerment Facebook page, our main page, that is the page where you can click the donate button and make a donation via Facebook. What's really neat about that is that Facebook currently covers all the fees, the credit card processing fees, the admin fees. And so Autism Empowerment gets 100% of the proceeds. So if you were to donate $50 through Facebook, we would receive $50. Also, a lot of people will do birthday fundraisers or special occasion fundraisers, Autism Acceptance Month fundraisers.
What do we call those when they just do it, especially in the month of April?
We like to call them friend raisers. Because essentially
you're our friend.
But you're our friend for sure, but it's a great way to include your circle of friends in the giving process. And this is beyond just the giving, because a lot of times when people start birthday fundraisers or other types of fundraisers, people on their own timelines will go, Autism Empowerment, who's that? I haven't heard of them. And then they'll get to know who we are. And we have ended up serving so many additional families that way that were never aware of our organization until someone else started a fundraiser for us. And that's beautiful. It's what we want to be able to do. That is our model. We want to be able to serve people. So it's a pretty simple process to start a Facebook fundraiser, but we'll go ahead and include instructions on how to do that in the show notes. One thing I did want to point out is that with Facebook fundraising, we as a nonprofit organization don't currently see the private information of the donor. For example, we don't see the address or the email address or credit card information, that kind of thing. People can even choose to donate privately if they like. Safety-wise, that can be a really big plus for people, but on our end, it means we're not able to mail out thank yous because we don't have an address in which to do so. We do try to do an online thank you and shout out to every donor that we see, because we're always appreciative of the kindness and support. However, if somebody is looking to receive a thank you in the mail or they need that type of receipt, it would be recommended that they either donate through our website or through a mail donation.
Can someone make a donation in honor of somebody?
Absolutely. So in the past, we've had a number of different families who have made special donations when a loved one graduated from school or someone passed away in their family. And so we have in honor of or memorial donations that people can do through our website or through mailed giving. In both cases, as long as we have the mailing address, what we do is we send a mailed card to the honoree or the family member of the person who's passed away to let them know that a special gift was made to celebrate them or their loved one.
What about planned giving and endowments?
That's a great question. Usually planned giving and endowments, those are big gifts that come. And that is something where, as a smaller grassroots organization, we have been looking to evolve into the stage where we can have money that can help sustain the organization for many years to come. So we definitely are looking for that planned giving and those endowment types of gifts. An endowed fund is a charitable gift that's established in perpetuity. And what that means is that the principal of the money is invested for a total return over years. And then every year, a small portion of that fund is paid out to the nonprofit. The purpose is to help furnish a nonprofit organization with an income for their continuing support or maintenance. Sometimes it's made in a person's will and is part of a planned giving process. And sometimes it's made just as an endowment to help the organization move forward into their next stages of nonprofit work. So if someone out there is interested in potentially including autism empowerment in an endowment or planned giving, we would love to be able to do that with you. You can contact us and we will provide further details. We actually have a relationship with the Community Foundation of Southwest Washington, which has the capacity to accept and manage these types of gifts on our behalf, including stock or financial instruments or other property. So that's something where if you're interested in supporting us with that organizational endowment fund or planned giving, please let us know. We would be greatly appreciative, and thank you for your consideration.
So you mentioned something about property. What about something like a car or a vehicle? Can people donate something like that?
If you are getting a new vehicle or you have a vehicle that died and you just want to get rid of it, we do accept car and vehicle donations through a third party called Donate for Charity, and they take care of those donations. If you go to donateforcharity.com and choose Autism Empowerment as your recipient, what they will do is they will contact you and they will take care of all the paperwork. They'll come out to you and pick your vehicle up. There will be absolutely no cost to you, and that's for autos or motorcycles or boats or even RVs, running or not. On the off chance that somebody out there wants to donate a new or a newer vehicle to us that's running, we are actually looking for a vehicle, an SUV or a van type vehicle for our Spectrum Life magazine deliveries. So just in case we're throwing that out there, that's something that you might be able to connect us with. Feel free to contact us and we'll talk with you.
So that's pretty cool. I know another great way people can support autism empowerment is just doing what they always do. Shop, right? Can we talk about ways people can donate through their shopping?
What I like about this is that everybody needs to buy something, right? You get your groceries, you buy your stuff online, your deliveries. We have relationships with a number of different organizations that will give us a percentage back as a donation every time that you shop. The neat thing about it is it doesn't cost you anything. You just need to choose Autism Empowerment as your beneficiary, and then we eventually get the money. There are a few that we're registered with. The most common one that people have probably heard of is the Amazon Smile program. That's where you go to smile.amazon.com and you have a nonprofit that's designated to receive a portion of your purchases. eBay is another one. That's where you can actually either sell or buy on our behalf. You can do that as well. You can also look for the Autism Empowerment eBay store. Sometimes we have things that are up for auction that you can bid on. You can also donate items to us as well that we can list in our eBay store. So here in the Northwest, there is a store called Fred Meyer. And if you have a Fred Meyer near you, if you link your rewards card to Autism Empowerment, you can use WA330 and you're all set. Once you link us, then every time you shop at Fred Meyer, a little percentage goes back to our organization as well.
I believe they're actually in Alaska, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho.
Great. And there may be other types of grocery store programs. There may be other programs that are available. And if we're not linked up with it, please let us know because we want to be able to participate in as many of these types of programs as we can. One final one I'll mention is Humble Bundle. They sell games, books, and software bundles at humblebundle.com. And you can get really good deals on different types of things bundled together. And you can choose how much of your purchase gets donated to charity or not. You would need to specifically select Autism Empowerment. But even if you don't shop for charity there's a lot of really good deals. So check that out, Humble Bundle.
Speaking of charity, there's a thing called charity gift certificates, correct?
Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to be able to give somebody a gift, but not a physical item, Charity Choice gifts are donations that you make on another's behalf. They have a charity gift certificate or a gift card that they can receive to spend on the charity of their choice. So that's just one way that you can also give to somebody else, but also benefit Autism Empowerment. In fact, I think they just started a bridal registry program there as well.
Well, that's neat for all the people that are going to be married soon. Next, I'd like to talk about things that people can do as a virtual volunteer. How can people support Autism Empowerment via social media?
Social media. Okay. This is actually a very big thing that you can do to support us because this is spreading the word. We would greatly appreciate it because it helps get the messaging out there about what we do. You can help us by subscribing to our social media channels. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube under the name Autism Empowerment. Our Spectrum Life magazine program also has its own Facebook and Twitter pages, or handles, rather. And then our podcast has a Facebook page and a Twitter account, too. To a lesser degree, we're also on Pinterest and LinkedIn. We'll have all our social media handles there for you in the show notes, but we're also part of Linktree. So if you find our Linktree account, that always keeps track of all of the different links that we're at. In addition to subscribing, what really helps our organization gain visibility is when people are engaged with our content through our websites and through social media. What that means is if you see a post that we make, show us some love by liking it, by commenting on it, by sharing it with others, by spreading the word.
I guess on Facebook, you could even do a wow face or a heart face, right?
There's a lot of different faces you can do. We hope people will not do angry faces or crying emojis. Every bit
You know what they say? Sharing is caring.
Yes, sharing is caring. And it's not just sharing on our social media per se. We have the podcast website, autismempowermentpodcast.org, and our spectrumlife.org website, where you can actually go there and share our articles or our podcast episodes. Doing those things and sharing them to your Twitter accounts or your Facebook feeds or anywhere that you hang out, that's going to be helpful for us.
What about being a fundraiser ambassador?
Yeah. So in addition to being a social media ambassador, which is something we need as many social media ambassadors that we can get, fundraising ambassadors are people who have blessed us over the years by finding creative ways to raise money for us. These are just really neat types of ideas that people have come up with over the years. In fact, recently, just this last week, Punky's Mixtape did a live stream on Twitch where he donated a portion of the proceeds to Autism Empowerment. Others over the years have had merchandise sales where they've donated a percentage to our organization. Maybe they've created artwork or jewelry or a T-shirt or some sort of creative thing.
I have two favorite ones.
What's that?
I have one person actually ate bugs for us.
That's right.
And another person decided that if they raised a certain amount, they would have the privilege of putting a pie in my face.
John, that is a privilege, except I personally would offer to do it for free. Okay. Yeah.
So there's a lot of creative things out there people have done.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, last year, was it last year? No, it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we were doing all of these fun things during Autism Acceptance Month.
So let's bring those back.
Let's bring those back. Let's pie John.
Or if you choose to eat bugs, you can do that as well.
You could eat bugs. You could, yeah, we want to hear your creative ideas. We want you to have fun with this. We want you to enjoy what you're doing, and we want to celebrate you, and we want to share that. So please let us know. Be creative. And we will put a list of different ideas out there, but please do let us know your own, because that really inspires us. It motivates us to keep going because we really do want to serve. And when I say we, it's the collective we. It's all of us. All of us can be ambassadors for acceptance of all abilities in our homes, in our schools, in our workplace, in our community. This is just something that we want to be a way of life. We realize that there are a lot of challenges. There are a lot of difficulties. We're not minimizing that in any way. We know there are a lot of people out there that are very passionate about advocacy, and there is a lot of work that needs to be done. You can be an ambassador for acceptance of all abilities every day in so many different ways. We look forward to continuing to work with you on creative ideas where we can lift our community and lift each other together.
So you mentioned April is coming up, and April is Autism Acceptance Month. Is there anything special people can do with the upcoming month?
Well, one, take care of yourselves.
I like that.
And then number two, make sure you're subscribed to the Autism Empowerment Podcast.
That's a good one.
And tune into our next show, which is episode number 15, where we're going to be talking about what does autism empowerment look like? What does it look like at Autism Empowerment in 2021? What does it look like in society, in our world at large? What is the difference between acceptance and awareness, advocacy? How does that fall into play? What is the difference between acceptance and stagnation? How can we promote health, wellness, and the human needs of each autistic person with respect and dignity? How do we answer the naysayers who don't believe that we genuinely care?
Those are all great points. Thank you so much, Karen, for sitting down with me today and going over all these ways people can get involved in helping support autism empowerment. Before I turn this back over to you to close us out, I'd like to thank all of our listeners out there for tuning in today and hopefully subscribing. And now, Karen, you can take us out.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much for being my co-host here today. Earlier in the show, I mentioned that we would be giving away prizes for Autism Acceptance Month in April. We currently have 3 Ambassador for Acceptance of All Abilities t-shirts, as well as wristbands to give away to 3 lucky listeners living in the United States. The drawing is going to take place at the end of April, and we'll announce the winners on our website and our podcast. To enter, visit www.autismempowermentpodcast.org, fill out the contact form, and in the message box, let us know why you're an Ambassador for Acceptance of All Abilities. We're going to do a random draw, so whatever you say is whatever you feel. The deadline to enter is April 23rd, 2021. Good luck on your entries. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for sending in your questions. We will continue to do shows that answer the most frequently asked questions, and if you have something specific that you need, we'll do our best to answer you as well. And thank you. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and thank you for your time. You've been listening to the Autism Empowerment Podcast. If you'd like to get connected with our community, as well as all the great support and content we have planned for the future, please hit the subscribe button and visit www.autismempowermentpodcast.org for show notes, transcripts, social media details, Spectrum Life magazine, and more. As a 501c3 nonprofit charity, we rely upon support from listeners like you to produce our podcast and other programs. We appreciate you leaving a positive review and considering a tax-deductible donation today.